Hi, everyone. So excited to be here again. It's a beautiful Tuesday. Hope everybody's got their clocks where they need to be. And with that said, today is Women's Empowerment event, which is every Tuesday with Beverly. And we're so honored to have Laura Burgels with us today. Hope I pronounced it properly. And she's just a wonderful lady. Had a chance to Zoom with her, got to learn more about her background. I think I found Laura through her comments on somebody else that I follow. I think it could have been Todd uh, or whoever. But, anyways, I always believe birds of a feather flock together. So, why don't we turn it over to Laura because she's our new guest today, first timer on this show, and have Laura share a little context, a little bit of background, and what her first thoughts on story is. Laura?
The first thing that grabbed me is you said birds of a feather flock together. And here's a weird coincidence. Yesterday, I wrote a post for a client about bird idioms. So think about it right now. How many bird idioms do you know? So already you know a little bit about me is that I'm improvisational and I'll grasp onto what somebody says and build on it. And I'm a writer because I'm writing content for another person. And I like to tell stories and do presentations. You probably might know me from my LinkedIn learning courses. I have about 3 popular courses there on public speaking. And I'll train in public speaking and I do consulting on public speaking. So tell me, how many bird idioms do you know? Because you said birds of a feather flock together, but what
I
else
think
do you
that could be it. Um,
Why, are you chicken? Are you chicken?
so
You
so
silly goose?
well, I never thought too much about, but I did come out of the gate with one without even knowing that was what was going to be discussed. So maybe there's something to telepathy, but that's another day and another subject. So Beverly, I don't know how many times, 4 or 5 months we've been doing this every
Many.
Tuesday, and it gets better because I love about these shows is it's co-learning, it's co-elevating together with the people on the stage because if you do 5, 6, 700 like I've done, a little bit every show sticks with you. A little bit of what someone said, the way someone responded, and pretty soon you're building a mosaic of yourself that's built around everybody else's little gems. So, anyways, just an aside. Beverly.
Okay, well, first of all, I can see, Laura, that this show is going to be fun because fun is really what I do. Although I do serious stuff, I provide premier custom coaching solutions for women over 50 to soar beyond their limitations, both personal and professionally. So, what I do is break through stories. And the stories that we carry in our head are the stories that keep us down. And those stories must be broken because otherwise we carry them and we don't grow, we don't thrive, we don't go better. And so anyone following me just knows, give me a call. I will bust your story. You know, I help everyone. I'm not for everyone, but I do bust story big time. And so when I'm working in workshops or I'm working in groups, it's all about that. And what I do is I actually have even a reinvention formula, which starts with your story, because that story is your limitation. And we can use it to an advantage in speaking. Absolutely, we can, if you're willing to share. However, the story, if you actually are living a life through your story, you're never going to expand, whether it's business, whether it's life, you're living an act. So you have to bust through that story and get going. And I see that other people are coming in and commenting, Don, and
Well, for sure.
this is going to be a really exciting, I would say, bust gutting or whatever, you know, hour. That's all I can say because
Well,
what we are doing is uplifting and breaking through a whole lot of story, and it will be fun. Dawn, back
Yeah,
to
and I think by having the ability to ratchet up together by playing off of what someone just said, what
you.
someone just commented, but you're absolutely right. Our best part of this whole show is the audience. Carrie's our jokester, comes here every day. My blanket keeps telling jokes. It's always got me in stitches. Isn't that cool? Uh, and he comes back. I'll share one more. Hello, Don Beverly and other guests. Well, thank you for welcoming everybody. Here's Omar, who does Zoom Party. I've been on his show twice. My grandson was on Kids Zoom Party. It's a great show. Uh, Matches kids all over the world, and everybody gets a prize. You know, it really brings fun to it. And that's all on Omar. Doesn't get any financial benefit from it. No, Don, it's Tuesdays. Okay, that's where we're going. Dennis is here. Dennis is a regular every day, and you're not chicken and not just a bird brain either. See, you asked the right.
New one, bird brain. I got to write that one down. I didn't include that one, so thank you.
Yeah, well, Dennis can always come in handy when it comes to a rhyme or something like that. And we got Dennis. Fun is getting it done for sure. I didn't think it came up. Here we go. A little bit on the late side there. And basically, Dennis comes back with
fun is getting it done.
Yeah, for sure. Agree, be willing to share and care about our hour together. Well, that's off to a great start. We got a good audience. We got a great topic. And we've got a great panel. So when you got great, 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 and great, maybe something good can happen. So with that said, what's your experience on live streaming been, Laura?
I have done, or like I explained to you, I am a peripatetic live streamer. I've done several events. I've led several events. But one of the reasons I'm sitting in this chair right now is to learn from you. Because one thing that I believe so strongly about live streaming is that we are in this new and dawning era of artificial intelligence. And what I'm seeing a lot of students do and a lot of colleagues do is they're going to AI right away to figure out what to say and to outline things for me and kind of think things through to me. And one of the reasons I love AI, or excuse me, I love live streaming is this is spontaneous. I am making this up right now. You know this isn't AI generated because we're having this really authentic communication. And that's the kind of thing that really connects with an audience. And I'd never be able to say something like this. Carrie, who's listening in the audience, who came up with that great joke about her blanket keeping in stitches, I have to ask her a question.
Hit him.
Him.
Okay, Carrie. Sorry, Carrie. I have to ask him a question. I'm sorry I misgendered you.
Okay.
But your blanket is keeping you in stitches. Have you heard about the corduroy pillows? They're making headlines.
Oh, I see.
I went a little slow.
But that's
Dawn, a little slow. Okay.
And see, that couldn't have been planned slow. It just was. And I think to, Laura's point, the only thing you can trust is real time, real people, real things going on in front of you, right? Once there's a delay, there's a chance for a modification, and I think people want their true voice to be heard, unfiltered, without gatekeepers, without permission. And live streaming allows you to own your own show. Be the show, whatever you want to do. And it's up to the quality of the content, the takeaways, the value that will support the show. And I also think that it's so nice because doing 500 in a row wasn't easy if I had to do more than I had to do. So with this, there was no preparation. There's no homework. It's just great conversation with great people that I learned so much from. You think as a host, you're the one who has all the chips, but it's your guests that bring you the value and allow you to be better for it. Because once you get into a rhythm, once you get into a flow, once you get it comfortable, the rest of the audience starts getting comfortable. Once you're more authentic, they start to feel and relate to things. So it is really art married to science with a little bit of theater mixed in. And that's where you can have a lot of fun because anybody can say anything about anything at any time. And everybody knows that. And then the follow up is even better than the startup. So, with that said, let me see if we have any more. No, let's go to Beverly. And Beverly, I know storytelling is such an important element of what you do, and not only what you tell, but what you hear.
Uh,
How,
it's all about story, right? This is really who I am and what I do. And when somebody even sent me something this morning, it was an email, and she said that she's going to be making this mastermind. It's a higher level, etc. And she's only having invited guests. And she says, just remember, it's secrets, right? Don't tell anybody. And the first thing I wrote back, I said, no problem. I'm definitely in on this one. I said, but I have heard so many secrets. Don't worry about it. You can trust me. My lips are sealed. And that is story. Okay. And going back to the live streaming too. Okay. Our story prevents us from getting out there. I speak on many stages. Okay. Stages are different. Stages are a preparation. You know what you're going to be saying. You know exactly what you're going to be saying. Think of TED Talks here. These are planned. These are arranged. Okay. It is about story. You do tell your story with a slant, but it's all about story because we're interested in each other's stories. Watch all these reality TV shows and you'll see exactly what I mean. These are contrived, but we get into other people's stories. Well, if we have a negative story saying, I'm not good enough about standing up, for instance, in live streaming, or I'm not good enough to talk in my Facebook group, I would rather put maybe just a post here and there, then what you're doing is you're preventing yourself. You're actually preventing yourself from sharing your greatness because your greatness is your flaw. Okay. How about that? Okay. What people love about you is your little bit of crazy. And you may say, you know what? I want to be more sophisticated. I want to be like that person. And when you're live streaming, no, you're you. And the audience, it's really not about us. It's about the audience. How does the audience receive you? There are people that are going to love you. There are people that are going to hate you. But your tribe will gravitate to you. And so live streaming, this is raw. This is vicious. Okay. But this is you. So it doesn't really matter. And by the way, it so doesn't matter that Dawn is going to be doing another show tomorrow. And who will remember this, right? It doesn't matter. We do these reels. They're often, I don't know how many seconds, TikToks. It doesn't matter. Just get out. Tell your story. It doesn't matter what. Be you. I love this. This new world is awesome. And as far as AI goes, I use it constantly. I change it. It helps me. There's so much AI. And if you are on TikTok or anything else, you're on AI too. Okay. Whether you like it or not, it's there. Embrace it and make it work for you because everything can work for you. And so can live streaming. And Dawn is the boss here. That's for sure. How many
well,
shows
it's,
have you done?
well, I can't thank you enough, Beverly, because when you talk about audience, that's not easy to get. But what's most important is community,
Yeah.
right? Building viewers who aren't connected, who don't come back, who don't support each other. It's not a family at that point. And you don't need many. You just need the best of what you have and who you have. But here's the thing, where you start is never where you end. The first time at anything, you're always going to be your worst, and you can anticipate that. It's almost like playing a practical joke on yourself. when you go out and do something for the first bowl for the first time, see how many times you drop the ball or, do anything else. And I think that's the fun of it, is having fun in front of people. Too many people think they got to be smart in front of people. They gotta open the road for everybody. No, you just got to lean back and enjoy the ride, share things as they come. And tomorrow you could be a totally new person to the totally same group. Right? Because it's like, hey, I learned something, I changed, you learned something, we changed. And I think that's where people find safety. And I think that's the key if you're telling about stories.
Yeah.
How many stories don't get told because they don't feel comfortable around who they're with and what's going on around them. But when you give people an opportunity with really supportive, non-judgmental people, and once they share it and everybody still loves them all the same, now they can get on with their business. Now that ghost isn't going to keep haunting them and dragging legacy into the future. So if you want to be relevant, how relevant can you be? How much of the past can you put back in the closet? And how much of the future could you put off until tomorrow? Versus what do we got today? Who do we got today? What are we working with? It's like a great chef. Right? Doesn't matter what you give that person, they'll make something out of it. And I think that's the creative side. So without going too much further, we need to recognize some more people. Dennis says being a host is so much better than a ghost. We just talked about ghosts. Leslie's here. Everybody knows Leslie. Leslie's such a fine individual. I know on Monday she posts everybody's events. And everybody's appreciative of that. Leslie says, then story reflects what we really believe, Beverly, for sure. Now, here's Carl. Carl is a shooting star. I just was at his show. His show starts an hour earlier. He's in our collaboration group with Beverly and Kelly and Harvey and Con and Dave, and every 2 weeks we meet on Zoom and we do all our live streaming, knowledge sharing, tips we picked up, and you can grow so much faster when everybody's learning from everybody else at the same time. It's like a grab bag, Carl has his show. It's an hour before here. It's the Instant Riches show about funding. He had a great show today. I was happy to be part of it. Just as an update, Harvey Tuck has his franchise show following this show. And then Kelly Stanecki, who's been with me over 100 shows in the last year, has her show, The Awesome Journey, with Christy Howard. So we got 4 shows in a row and growing. 20 people have come on the show as a guest, now have their own shows within a couple months. And that's where the numbers work in your favor. If there's 1 billion people registered on LinkedIn, and to Laura's point, when you pair channels, you can get multi-billions.
Yeah.
How many people have a live stream? And then how many people do it right? How many times you're in the audience and you feel embarrassed for even being there because they're not including you, they're not talking to you, they're talking at you, or worse, they're talking between themselves, having a good old time, and no one cares, right? And it's all about them. If you get the give to get philosophy, it works all the time, because most people are trying to get before they give, and then maybe get and never give. So Leslie comes back with story releases our spirit, waiting to be shared, for sure. By the way, Leslie has Think and Grow Rich every Friday. That's her live event video. And then she has Mind Over Matter on Mondays. And then she's teaching all kinds of courses. So me and Leslie have done probably 40, 50 shows. Great lady, great show. What else, Leslie? What do we got here? Ghost, the 6 Ghosts of Fear. Okay. And if there's something about something, Leslie's probably read it or taught it. So I got confidence. The greatest gifts to mankind by mankind were done without knowing how, to Don's point. Great.
Good.
And there we go back with the Ghost of Fear, I guess. So this is starting to get a little bit more understandable, I bet, Laura. So what are you picking up in your improvisational way?
This is all improvised, right? Because we are all making this up as we go along. And one thing that we often say on the improvised stage or in workshops is that what people enjoy too is seeing the struggle of making things up in the moment. So if you're making a mistake, that's part of the fun. That's part of the enjoyment. Or if somebody tosses something at you and you're really not sure what to do with it, your authenticity of what am I got to do now look shows in your face. That face look is there like deer in the headlights, but I'm plowing forward, and they're watching you make this thing up in real time. And that is the creativity and the joy. They're seeing the spontaneous thing happen. And that's the thing that excites people, that makes them say, this really happened. And I was there when it happened. I was live. I saw it happen. That's a really exciting thing for a lot of people. So the live events help facilitate that feeling in people. And that feeling is really special. I don't think you get that so much from a recorded event. You can, but that special feeling of the live event and the potential for mistakes is always there. I loved reading the book Bossy Pants, for example, by Tina Fey. And she said, the show isn't ready because it's perfect, because she does a live show or did a live show called Saturday Night Live. It's very popular. And she says, it doesn't go on because it's perfect. It goes on because it's 11:30 on Saturday. Mistakes, warts and all, you go forward. I love that.
Well, it does speak for being proactive. It's not for everybody, it's for the people who are okay with themselves enough to be okay with others. I was fortunate to be on a show, which I'm not on many other shows, but Ford Sykes. I don't know if you know Ford, but just a great gentleman. Has been on our show a couple times. And it was interesting because the spontaneity of that also, even though it's taped and then it's, put out there, which allows you for some modifications, I guess. But I was just amazed at how everything he had was so polished, so professional, so first ticket. And, when we were talking, I said, this is great, right? But the average live streamers just turns a switch and goes on. And that's how you get started. So, if one aspires to be, there's so many more levels of proficiency, but I tend to go for heartfelt, feeling oriented shows. And, it's almost fun if you do it enough. When you make a mistake, to Laura's point, is how you respond to it. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I went live before I got to this page, right? Because on Restream, you can go live as soon as you go there. But if you got an event, you got to move to the next page. Well, for 2 minutes, I'm talking to an audience of 9 people when my co-host and the audience is waiting there. And I had to sign off, tell everybody, why don't you jump on here? I don't think many people did. But, it's laughable because I think Beverly makes a great point. If you do 700 of these within 700 some days, every one is less than 0.5% of your total content, right? And it's just like artists. They paint stuff all day long, and some of it's a part of a painting that never gets finished. Other things, they go quick. But it is like a great canvas where you really share who you are right now. You're going to be reflecting what you thought before you got here, what you're going to be dealing with after you leave here. And when you can get happy with yourself, first of all, you're happy. And second of all, everybody knows you're happy. And what people want more than anything else is happiness. I mean, making money is great, making all this stuff happen. But at the end of the day, you want to feel, hey, this has been a wonderful day, and tomorrow's going to get even better because I've got 2 more people who I haven't seen in a while going to come on the show. And this is like, it's 9 a.m. Mountain Time when this starts. It's better than going to the gym. So with that said, Leslie has says something about Think and Grow Rich. From thinking grow rich, then comes
I love
back
it.
with they like it because they're thinking, wow, she's just like me. Agree, be proactive and con-active, Dennis says. And Leslie was a theatrical performer too at an earlier stage of her career. So, Beverly, it seems like, women's empowerment is the umbrella here,
Mhm.
and story is the focal point. And it's really good when you don't have to force anything, right? Where you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to say, well, we're going to figure that problem out today. You know what it is? It's just an honest exchange with good quality people. And wherever it goes, as long as you have, they say it's always your music, not your words that people remember,
Yeah.
So how did you make people feel? And, if you feel great, you start thinking better, right? So it adds to the positivity of everything. So, Beverly,
Okay, well, where do I pick up? Okay, I'm going to go right back to you mentioning women empowerment. Yeah, and stories with that. Women have been struggling with so many stories that have been put out to us as to who we should be and what we should be and how we should be and how we should act, that it is huge for us. And when I'm working with older women, and I'm going to talk about younger, I work with Gen Zers too. Okay. There is a perception that you have to act a certain way, you have to play a certain role, you have to be like you should be. And what's happening today more and more with live streaming, with reality shows, which are contrived, is that you have to get out there and be who you are. And when you are who you are, people will gravitate to you, the ones that you want, because like I say, you can't have everybody. So as far as women are concerned, we have to also dig deep. Do we play the role of the mother? A lot of people lose their identity in that. They really, really do. And then what's next when there's the empty nest? Or if you put all your energy into your job and you've been working and you really hit that corporate ladder and you're up there, but you come home and you don't know your kids. Okay. What I do is connect those missing links. And it's all about story. It really is. It's you telling yourself, oh, he hates me. And chances are he doesn't hate you. He just feels that you don't love him, that you love your job more. What I'm doing right now is changing story. That's all. And the stories that we perceive are in our heads, and we rewrite those scripts. We change them because they don't matter. But what happens when we tell ourselves certain things, we believe those things and we follow the direction of what our belief system is, and we can create more and more damage through the stories, and they don't exist. So rewriting your story, particularly, I'm not just saying this isn't only for women, this is guys too, is to understand that if you feel hated or if you don't feel loved or whatever you don't feel, it's not necessarily true. It's your feeling, it's your story at the time. And we can rewrite that. And how do we do it? Start with conversation. Don't go to how you feel immediately. Oh, he hates me. Okay, so I hate him too. I can't believe what he did, blah, blah, blah. That's a story that you just created right there. It's like when you go back to your belief system, which is, I really feel you don't like me right now. And the other person say, no, I'm just busy, or whatever it is. Your story can create all the difference in your life. And that's the same with your job. That's the same with the people you meet every single day. What's going on in your head? If you're not in a good place, it's because of you, not them. Think about it. Whoa. Okay, Laura, pass it to you.
You know what you are, Beverly?
I have no idea.
You're a fact checker. thinking of, I write a story for a publication and they send it to a fact checker to make sure that what I've written is factually correct. What you do is listen to people's stories and you sort of fact check what's going on with them, right? To
No,
say, oh, but they're telling themselves a story that may not necessarily be true.
no, I
So,
don't fact check.
okay, what is
AI
it?
does that.
What does
I
it?
don't fact check at all.
Mm-hmm.
I ask questions. That's what I do.
Okay, so you ask the question so they can check their own facts.
Of course.
Okay, that's an
Our
important
answers
distinction.
are within us, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give the answer. Okay. And that's how people create the story. They have the story and they don't have the answer. Nobody has the answer. However, they do feel and know what they want and what they want to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so all it is bringing out, not changing a story, but bringing out a belief system that this is what I want and I can get it. It's connecting from here to here, your heart and your head. And that's all it is. That's how you not only change your story, it's change your life, it's change your business, it's change.
Mm-hmm.
I love what I do. Believe me, I love it. I see miracles.
So you said that you bust stories.
No, I don't bust them. Okay.
Okay.
I'm kind of the catalyst
Okay.
to ask the questions where people understand what's going on in a different way, or what I say, untwist your thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get it. I don't bust it. Okay. They just get it. It's like, whoa. And it's like eureka moment. And then you just become liberated from your story, which has been keeping you down and preventing you from maybe a good marriage, even, or a belief that perhaps I can't get that job promotion. And then not asking, or asking so timidly, you don't even know that you don't even think you deserve it. It's that story that we keep inside. Now, once you start believing that you're not only can get it, but you're entitled to get it, and not only entitled to get it, but deserve it, and look at what I've done, etc., you present yourself so differently that the other person says, hey, yes, yes, like The Secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whatever you believe you get, the universe will provide. Well, yeah, that's kind of a cliche for exactly that. When you feel deserving, when you feel entitled, you'll get it. It's crazy good. It works. I mean, I teach people all the time. I shouldn't say teach, I just kind of guide them to get out of themselves. And it's like, whoa, it's amazing. I love what I do. What can I say? Whoa. It's such an honor to be able to see miracles.
Well, I think, you bring up a good element, which is gratitude, right? Being grateful for what you have and your ability to do it and to show up and to continue to bring more value. And I think anytime you're into something bigger than yourself, you can forget more about yourself and focus on what you're into or who you're into, because every day there's new characters that come into your play.
Yeah.
Right? There's new lines that get brought to you, and it's how responsive. And I think that's also what's nice about live streaming, is what someone was or has been or learned or whatever. That's all wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But today you're only as good as what you say next, and how you say it and who you say it to. That's going to determine who you're going to be talking to tomorrow.
Sure.
Right? So you're doing something, but you're also buying a ticket for another show that you can perform at, and there's something about control. There's something about having your own ability to do what you want when you want. Like a car creates a lot of freedom for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But a live streaming stage can create anything. And the nice thing too that I see is, as you grow up, you're part of a neighborhood or a community. But when you leave that and go to a new place, you could be anything you want. Nobody knows you, right? So it allows for reinvention. You could have a whole different, you can finally be you, with everything that you were concerned about, right? Not being a concern. And when you get real time, real life experience, it can take the place of self-limiting beliefs, stories that you adopted at a time when maybe it made sense or maybe it didn't. But why not start with a fresh slate? I always say you can always do yesterday tomorrow if today doesn't work out with your new change, So what's your thoughts, Laura, on all these great comments and our focus on really being a little deeper with the ability to add some fun to it, because I think that's another downside when everything gets too serious.
Yeah.
When everything gets too dramatic, it gets like scary,
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy is a good word. So, what's your thoughts, Laura?
Yeah, since you're talking heavy, I haven't thought this through clearly, and I think this is kind of a fun thing because this is usually something that what I do is I think through it because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this. And what if I just talked about it right now? Because what you said was we've got all these roles that we play and all these characters coming in and out of our life. And it led me to a discussion that I just had with a colleague a few weeks ago, which is I said I do a lot of role playing in sales training where we take on different roles and play through them to understand what we're doing and, to be spontaneous in that particular situation. How are we going to act with this kind of customer? How are we going to act with this kind of different new product introduction and so forth? And he said, I don't like that term role playing. He goes, I like to call it role creating because you're creating this situation. If you're just playing, then, it's not real. And I'm like, oh, see, I have a different approach entirely because my whole life is about play and game-based learning and getting to the fun. And let's play. Let's lighten this up. Because if we say play, now it sounds like it could be fun. But if we say creation, now it means like, oh, I got to create something, like I have to work. So I see his point and I take his point. But I really like that word play and I want to continue to use it. And I want to toss that out to like the audience and I want to toss that out to you. What do you think of role play versus role creation? Or does it not matter? And am I being too pedantic?
No, I don't even know what that means, but I don't think I say no to everything before that. I think that you're always playing a role based on the situation you're put in. Right?
Yeah.
When you're driving a car, you're adopting a role of being aware and being focused and knowing what's going on. On a show, you're always role playing to the person's role play that they're coming at you with, right? So if you got someone who's this way, then you're going to have to be that way to complement each other, to support each other. The difference is you can still stay authentic to whatever role you play. Right? You can be dramatic, you can be comedy, you could be whatever. And the more versatile you are, and it really brings back the point I was going to make earlier, is people want to see you as them. And that's where you get the total alignment. So when someone is surprised at something and you're surprised at the same time, but you can see their face, it like confirms a lot in the moment, and at a certain point, it's a creation of energy, so how do people feel after something's over compared to how they felt before it started? How are they different? And, it's a buffet that takes an hour to move through the line. So if you pick up 2-3 nice tidbits and come back tomorrow, you don't have to get it all. Because there's more coming and there's more people coming. And at a certain point, you are not a spectator. You're as active as you choose to be. Leslie, excuse me, commented like 7 times today. You know, what I challenge people is if you got a question and you're here and we're here, ask it. If you got something to say, give it. Because you don't want to say, I was going to say something, but I didn't. And you know what that does? It creates the next, I'm not going to do that yet. You know, and when you start letting it fly, you know, and you're better off playing with more numbers because some will hit really well, and maybe one will be a gem. And that's all you needed. I mean, you know, they say it takes a ton of gold ore to get an ounce of gold. That's a lot of rock.
You bring up a really good point. You initially asked me what my experience with live streaming was, and I started out doing live streamed office hours. Now, office hours for a professor or for a teacher, we're often required to do it as you have a certain number of times that you need to be in your office and students show up to ask you questions, kind of like Leslie is making comments and asking questions there. But here's the sad truth of office hours, and you probably know this from being in college, is that students seldom show up to ask the question. So I had the idea of, what if I just live stream me sitting in my office so that they could like come in that way? And I think that might be a great use for live streaming for teachers and so forth, to say, all right, maybe no one is going to show up, not likely, for the live stream. They won't show up in person very often, but for the live stream, they can ask it publicly. They can do a DM. They can connect with you. And if no one shows up at the live stream, kick it off with something. Have a 5-minute, 10-minute topic that you're going to talk about that's thematic to what you teach. And say, this is an open office hour, AMA, ask me anything. This is the whole session could be Q&A. I'm just going to talk for 5 minutes, and after a half hour or an hour, this office hour is over. So that was kind of my initial thought.
Well, I think when people look at live streaming, it's about complementing what you're doing. It's an either and, it's not an either or. And, you know, if you got something to say, why not say it? Even if it's to one person, right? Because you get better at saying it. Here's a new person I haven't seen with an interesting name. Beatrice, good medicine here, transmute the tragics, turning hells into health. You all bring a sense of healing frequency. Very grateful. Well, thank you. And here's Brittany Pepper, I just had the honor of talking with her yesterday on Zoom. And she's coming on with Kelly, I believe, April 4th. So welcome. We all wear different hats for sure. And it's more fun wearing different hats. You know, it's more fun having variety, having people challenge you. You know, I've got some people that come on the show that love the show because usually they're never getting challenged. They're the ones on the stage. They're the ones who are giving out advice or telling people things. But when someone says, hey, what's on your mind right now? How strong are they? How responsive are they? How creative are they? And how much fun are they having? Because someone who's prepared their whole life for everything they've done has lost something in the process. You know, they've lost that spontaneity. They lost their ability to say, hey, forget what I was thinking. Here's what I want to say. You know, or they forget about what are they going to think after I say this, because that's too much to think about and you're never going to say it right. It's like doing organic video where you're always going to be editing and changing, and by the time it gets out, it's like plain vanilla. So thanks for being here, Brittany. Dennis comes back with, when you role play honestly, you're on a real roll. You know, and I think Dennis is a prime example. Someone seems to find fun in everything. You know, can type it out, can put it out there. And, you know, it's the doers that make the difference. It's not the thinkers. The thinkers without doing are double wasted. You know, they could have been thinking about something and done something that they could have done. Dennis says different hats create different and important chats for sure. And, you know, I think the key is when everybody in the audience feels just as connected to the stage and vice versa, then you've got some sort of closeness And, you know, the other thing is there's something to seeing people you like every day, just knowing they're still here, right? Just knowing they made it one more day. And I think if you take life as being precious and time as being extremely valuable, what's your return on your time? What's your return on your activities? And fast forward, where are you going to be? You know, they say you're the factor of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Where are they going? Because that's exactly where you're going. So Beverly, coming up on 3/4 of the show, sounds like we covered a lot of ground and opened up a
Yeah,
lot of areas for people to maybe think about. What's
yeah.
your next thought?
We opened a lot of windows, but what I love is what you were saying, Laura, about live, not live streaming. We know that it's really good and we speak to everybody and we love our audience because our audience is so much a part of the connectiveness that a community brings, which live streaming does. But what you were talking about role playing, and as we know, without even standing on a stage, we're always playing roles, whether it's the role of a mom or whether it's the role of a business person or whatever it is. And I also use it in the work that I do. And way back in the day, yes, I did professional acting. Oh my God. And, and art way back in the day, and improv, which I absolutely loved. But because you're very on with that. But the bottom line is what I use is I would act as if. Okay. In other words, you're stepping out of yourself. You're being not someone else, but you're taking the risk to act like. You know, AA uses the term fake it as like you make it, you know?
Mhm.
Um, I don't like the word fake it because it's you when you're doing it. Okay. So you're not faking it. You're just coming out of yourself just a little bit. And that I think is so important. And I'm thinking of a client who is in finance. And, you know, she handles a lot of money, and people come in, and this was another person. She was handling her investments, and this is also an investment person. And this person was really demanding. And my client was extremely nervous about handling somebody like this. And she really resented having to even deal with her. And she wanted her like really off her plate. Anyway, she came to me and she was talking to me, how do you do this? So I said, well, this woman is just asserting her power and control. Think about it. Her name was Natalie. I said, Natalie, you have all the control. This is your office. This is your advice. I said, you know, what you did is you put yourself in her movie and she was running your life. So she said, oh my goodness, I don't believe it. And then afterwards, she went downstairs and she wrote me. She says, you know, I was so nervous. I didn't know what to tell Beverly about how I'm going to have to deal with so and so the next day. And she said, well, you know what? Put myself in another movie. And she also told me to just rewrite the script and get her out of it. I said, yeah, just make her a little, just an extra in this, right? So what I did I use a lot of humor, as you can see. But when you do that, you're lightening up something that's so intense, and that's changing the story because we are all, hey, the lead actor in our own script, are we not? Right?
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
You made me reflect on two different emotions because you said fake it till you make it.
yeah.
But there are two different emotions that I will frequently talk to clients and students about that are kind of fake emotions. And those emotions are bravery and patience, right? Because if somebody thanks you for your patience, they're doing that because you seem a little impatient and they kind of want you to be more patient. And when students say, I'm really scared to go on stage because I have stage fright and public speaking anxiety, I said, well, here's the story. You're brave when you go up there because brave is when you are scared and you do something anyway. You can't be brave unless you are scared, right? So rewrite that story of I'm scared. It's like, no, I am brave for doing this. You'll feel way more courageous. And when you feel more courageous, you're going to feel way more confident getting into that situation.
Yeah, well, that only makes perfect sense because, what you anticipate is usually a lot of what you're going to end up with because you attract it. But if you decide that you don't have to think, you don't have to make all these decisions, you just have to do what you can do, the best you can do it, and keep doing it.
Mhm.
Again, it's the progress, and people are learning from what they're doing. People are thinking about doing something, continue to have that loop, and it doesn't change much, but it also allows for I'm missing one piece, so I need to take more time. But that's holding up everything that was going to happen right after it. So not only are you foregoing what you should be doing, you're also deferring what's going to happen after it. So if it's like wait for what? Wait for who? Wait for when? And you've got to get to the point where you say, ready or not, here I come. I mean, not every day is a great day. Not every day goes as expected. But you have to also realize tomorrow could be just the opposite again. What you didn't expect today, you won't expect tomorrow. But don't take yourself out of the game by beating yourself up about something you could have done better. There was somebody who said the really happy, successful people in life focus on the future, not the past. Focus on controllable things, not things out of their control, because there's enough to get sucked into that can make you unhappy every day if you allow yourself to wander into those places. But I have happened to see Brittany came back with a huge comment. I sometimes suggest we step outside ourselves and talk to our alter ego. By the way, Brittany's an excellent coach, and she works with people like Beverley used to in her office. Now she's virtual. What would they say? What would we say back? I recommend this when it comes to thinking through or making decisions that are difficult or that we find ourselves on different. I'll finish it up by, if I can see it. Okay, here it is. That are difficult or that we find ourselves on different or various sides of a spectrum. And curiosity is a good thing, right? And when I change frustration to fascination, everything changes. When things that used to frustrate me, I wonder, how could that ever happen? I'm fascinated by that. And if you take a moment out, how you start a conversation with yourself has a lot to do with how the conversation is going to go. So Dennis comes back with, agree, if you handle being a patient responsible, you will feel much better. And it's everything's the long haul. Agree, stay in the game and you'll gain. I'm glad that, I know one of Laura's expectations is let's have fun today. And I think just by Laura laughing, I think we achieved that. And, what it says is there can be a better tomorrow if you don't focus that much on everything today, and if you say, I'll accept what comes to me and I'll work on it tomorrow. And, some people honestly just aren't good enough for what they're expecting. They need to practice more, right? I mean, it's not like, why isn't it happening fast enough? You're not good enough yet. I mean, that's the bigger thing, because if it didn't happen, why not? Right? So I think that, I was even thinking yesterday, if it's not working, it's not because it can't work. It's not, you're not working hard enough at it. You're not working enough at it. You're not learning enough from it. And even if you are, you're going to get more by bulking up. And if you, again, put it in a framework of, I'm either learning or earning, but I'm never losing, right? And, if I didn't gain something, I learned something that might get me there. And if not, hey, like I said before, you come in a world with nothing, the worst you can do is break even, And I think it's the joy of living, sharing, growing that makes everybody relevant again. Because one thing about live streaming, it breaks down barriers, right? All you got to do is get to your screen. You know, you don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to do anything. And the more you talk, you know what could happen? You start falling in love with yourself again. Because as soon as you say it, you're hearing it the same time as everybody else is. And there are times you say, well, how did that ever come out of me? I'm pretty impressed. And you should be, right? Why not be as impressed with yourself as you are with others? At least keep yourself square and even. Uh, so anyways, with that said, Laura, I'll have you kind of close up and then we'll have Beverly finish. So what's your thoughts on anything and everything today? And where are you thinking now that you might have not been thinking at the beginning?
Well, the overriding question that I still have in my head is when somebody said we all wear different hats, I noticed that Don always wears the same hat. That's part of your brand in these things, isn't it?
Well, it has something to do with a limitation of how many hats I have too. So if I found a better hat, it would be worn another day.
But seriously, would people recognize you at this point if you didn't have the hat on?
Well, you know, I never wore hats before this. I don't wear too many hats after this. But it is practical if you're doing one every day because hair is not a thing you have to focus on all the time. And I think anything you can add to you elevates you, change. In other words, it's an accessory, right? In a sense, it's a prop. And, you know, you want to be memorable and recognizable because what you're also trying to build here is top of mind awareness. I'll give you a quick story. Harvey, who's just the greatest, follows this show, the franchise show, amazing. He was just qualified as the top 1,000 influencers in franchising, and he's only been in it 10 months. But he went to the franchise show in London, big show, and he's walking. And a year ago, he bought a ticket and just walked. And within 15 minutes, everybody started pointing at him and says, that's the franchise show guy. Nobody knew his name, but they knew his hat and they knew his persona. And you don't know how big your reach is. You don't know who's going to see this. You know who's seeing it right now with you. But it only takes somebody to say, wow, that's a great whoever. I'd like to get to know him, or maybe I get to work with him. So anyways, thank you, Laura, for being here. Any other final thoughts you have?
Is it nice to be able to go to a grocery store, take off your hat, and not be recognized so widely?
I don't know. I never, put it this way, this hat never leaves the house. So,
See, you're like a movie star that way. That you take off your hat so that people don't recognize you.
Well, I'd say
smart.
more like a live stream star. Movie star would be great. Maybe that's another step up. So Beverly, every show we do is always as good or better than the one we did before. And it really gives everybody a chance to challenge themselves and each other to think faster, speak better, do all kinds of things. So we're really polishing ourselves into the audience like a polishing wheel. And that's also great. You can try stuff out to get some feedback before you go on the road with it. Beverly.
Sure. Okay, well, first of all, yes, Dennis, I'm going right into the chats here. It's like, hats off to you too, man. You're here practically every day. Okay, so hats off to you, and hats off to all of you that keep on coming back every single day. I have to say that. And it's been really a wonderful ride with you, Laura. And I encourage everybody to keep rewriting your story, that your story does not exist, that the stories you say in your head can be changed at any time. Just like Dawn said, every day is a new day. Create a new story and make it a good one, because who wants to live in a bad story, right? And if you need a twist in thinking, just send me a DM, and you know where I live. I live online, guys. Come, I'd love to meet you. Take care.
Well, that's a wonderful, generous opportunity for everybody to get to know Laura, get to know Beverly better. That's what we're here for, is to make new connections, aligned, relevant connections. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow we're having Jason Gerardo with Dave Snell, and it's about transitions. Both of these gentlemen really help a lot of military people transition from military to civilian, doing great things. Thursday, it's me and Kelly. Friday is a new person, Nathan Hirsch, who is pretty significant in the building businesses and selling businesses areas, created 2 huge businesses and sold them, and now starting something pretty interesting. So it's really nice to have variety, diversification. You know, some of it is this, some of it's that. But you know what it is? Everybody's their own person, right? Everybody brings their own energy, their personality. And when you can strategically pair people, now you get even more exposure, but more value. And I think, you know, anybody should be thinking, if they can do it, I could do it. And if I can't do it, could they help me do it? And the first step is being a guest on a show and then seeing how it feels. And, you know, one step at a time, what do you have to lose? Because, you know, what you will find is that this could be an open opportunity to fill in for those pieces that are maybe holding you back or not creating a community where you can really lean into and get support. So anyways, go off, have a wonderful day. Come back in 23 hours. We'll do it again. And thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much, Beverly. Thank you so much,